Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm doing a full solo playthrough of Wayfarers of the South Tigris. This is the first game in the South Tigris trilogy by Shem Phillips and S.J. McDonald. It's 820 AD, and we are brave explorers, cartographers, and astronomers, setting off from Baghdad to map the surrounding land, waterways, and skies. We'll be managing our caravan of workers and supplies, as well as journaling our findings, and of course trying to get the most victory points. Now I've set everything up for the solo game. It's pretty much like the two-player game, except we're going to have an AI opponent where you flip one of the boards at random to the back side, and in this case we got the Space AI. We always start as the first player, so we get 3 silver, 2 provisions, and 1 influence in the Blue Guild. The solo opponent doesn't care about silver and provisions, but they do start with an influence in the blue and the yellow guild. We each start with a blue and yellow worker, and we get our 3 starting dice. Again, the solo opponent doesn't deal in dice at all. First thing we want to do is roll our dice. Okay, we got a 2, 3, 4, and I like to put them up here. And now we're ready to begin with our first turn. Now there's a ton of icons all over the place. I'm not going to explain all this now. I'm just going to explain as we play, just like I normally do. Don't worry, it's all going to make sense, so let's just dive right in. On our turn, we have 3 options. We either need to place one of our workers, place one of our dice, or rest. Our workers are always going to go out to one of these 16 worker placement spots around the board. These 4 here take yellow or green workers. These 4 blue or green workers. These 4 can take any color, and those 4 over there just take green workers. Right now, we don't have green workers. They're going to be unlocked as we move up this journaling track. And thematically, these cards represent exploring the land, and they're going to go to the left bottom of our tableau. These represent exploring the sea, and they're going to go to the right bottom of our tableau. Those cards up there are townfolk cards. They're going to get tucked underneath either our land or our sea. And they're basically going to provide us with some bonuses. And then those cards up there, those are space cards. They're going to go above either our land or our sea cards, and they're going to provide us with ways of gaining points at the end of the game. These cards along the side here are inspiration cards. They're going to go above our space cards. They're a little more difficult to get. We'll deal with them later. And this deck right here is the AI deck. This is how they're going to be taking actions. You're going to see that in a second. So our workers are always going to go out onto this public board. Our dice, however, are only going to be placed in dice placement spots on our board or on our tableau. At the beginning of the game, we have 6 spots that we could put our dice. And then as we acquire some of these cards, they're going to provide us with additional dice placement spaces. For instance, this one right here. As you can see, some of these spaces have little icons in them, and that's a prerequisite in order to place the die there. And up here in this caravan spot, this is telling you essentially what kind of icons are on your dice, because we're going to be sort of crafting our dice in order to have different icons so that we can activate some of these different spots. At the beginning of the game, a die that rolls a 1 has a camel on it, and a die that rolls a 6 has a telescope on it, and that's it. All these other icons that are on this map here are benefits we're going to get when we cover them up with these tiles that we can collect, that we can place on here to give our dice more icons so that they're more flexible for taking actions. So right now we rolled a 2, 3, and 4. They essentially have no icons on them. So at the moment, they could only be placed in these 2 spots right here that don't require an icon. As you can see, some of these spots require 2 icons of a specific type. But we do have a couple of ways of getting around this, and you'll see that in a second. At the moment, I want to get some cards out into my tableau. And there's a couple ways of doing that. There's an action here that lets you spend 3 provisions in order to draw 3 cards off the top of the deck and pick one. There's a similar action right here for the blue deck. We only have 2 provisions. But we have 2 spaces on our board here that let us place a die, spend 2 provisions, and then we can get a card, in this case a yellow card, and a silver, or just a blue card. Now I don't have a camel or a ship, except I kind of do. because I have an influence here in the blue guild. And once per turn, I can actually spend my influence to take this special action here, which is to basically give my die a temporary ship for a placement. And so now I have a ship, I can take a die and place it there to take this action. I have to spend 2 provisions, and that's going to let me draft one of the blue cards. And I think the card I like is this one right here. So blue cards go onto the right side. And there's basically 2 types of blue cards. There's these harbors. We have one printed, sort of pre-printed on our starting board. And then there are these open sea ones. And the open seas give you sort of immediate benefits. So you can see these 2 lightning bolts. They connect up to some of the things that were printed on the previous card. We get those immediately. So I get a provision. And that symbol there means I get to put an influence out onto a card. And I'm going to put my influence on that card. Well, no. I'm going to put my influence on that card. Okay. And then we see another lightning bolt here. So we get this immediate benefit as well, which is 3 more provisions. So there we go. Spent 2 provisions, but I got 4 back. Now that my turn is over, and only now do I refill these cards. And so everything slides to the middle, and then we refill. That's kind of how all of these work. And there we go. That was my first turn. And now it's the AI's turn, and we've already shuffled their 6-card action deck. So all you do is you just flip the top card, and you look at that number at the top, and that's how many spaces they're going to move that yellow marker in a clockwise direction around the track. Since that's a 0, we'll just keep it right there. They're then going to try to take the top action if they can, and if they can't, they'll take the bottom action. In this case, they'd like to place a green worker if they had one, which they don't. So instead, they'd like to place a blue worker onto a blue card, and they do have a blue worker, so they'll do that. So now we just need to determine which blue card they want to place on, and it's very simple. You take their current card and their previous card. In this case, there isn't a previous card. You would add those numbers at the top together, and that's the card they want to place on. In this case, the number is just 0, so they're going to place on the first card. It's 0 or 1, 2, 3, or 4. And this is how you take these worker placement actions. You actually place your meeple onto the card below the action, and then you take the action. And that worker will stay there until someone drafts that card, and they'll draft the worker with it. So in this case, they're taking this action, which is going to let them re-roll a die, and then change the value of 2 dice up 1 or down 1. Or you could change the same die up 2 or down 2. Now, they don't have dice to re-roll or to change the value of, so instead we consult the top of their little chart there. It shows that when they would re-roll a die, they will instead take a worker that's on the board. Now, there's a rule in the game where you cannot place and then retrieve the same worker on the same turn. So they're not going to be able to take that worker. And there are no other workers on the board. These here don't count. You can only unlock those by going up this journaling track. So they're not going to be able to take advantage of that. And these are going to let them place influence out onto cards, sort of like we did. Now, to determine which cards they're going to place influence on, we need to look at their yellow tracker and see which color circle they're on. They start on the black space. And so that means that they are going to influence the black deck or the space deck. As they move around that rondel, they'll be ending up in different colored spaces, and therefore they will influence and interact with different cards. And then again, we look at the number the same way we did here to see which card they want to interact with. In this case, 0, which would be the first card. You always count from the center towards the deck. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for the second one, they can't place it on the first one, so they're just going to go towards the deck and place on the next one. Very simple. And there we go. That's their complete turn. We can ignore all this stuff at the bottom. That will come up later. It's back to us. I want to take an action with a worker. And I have a yellow and a blue. I'm going to use the yellow, which means I could go and take any one of these 4 actions. If I went here, I could get one of these yellow tiles, place it out here, and improve my dice. Give me some more symbols. If I went here, I could get 2 silver and put an influence into the yellow guild. That's tempting. Instead, I think I want to come here. This spot here is going to let us take a townsfolk card and manipulate one of our dice, either increasing it by 1 or decreasing it by 1. I want to decrease this 2 to a 1. The merchant and the scribe we cannot take because you can see in the lower right there, it shows what type of terrain you tuck these townsfolk under. And right now, we don't have that kind of terrain. We could take the enforcer, but I think I'm kind of interested in that rogue. In the top left, it shows how much it costs to take them, so it's 1 silver. And the rogue could either be tucked under a city or a harbor. We start with both a city and a harbor pre-printed on our board here. And I'm going to tuck it under this city. And what that means is that when we take this action, we'll also be able to take this. In this case, either influencing a card, moving an influence from one guild to another, or increasing or decreasing one of our dice. So this is providing us with a little bonus action when we take this action. Now you can only have at most 1 townsfolk under each card. Okay, there we go. So that was that whole action. We slide and refill. And now we go to the AI. So we flip the card and we put it next to the previous card. Okay, we got another 0, so we don't move that. Now he wants to place the yellow worker. Again, we add up the 2 numbers, it's a 0. Wants to place it on the first yellow card, but there's already a yellow worker there, and you can't have 2 of the same color on the same card. So instead, they're just going to move to the next one. At this worker placement spot, they're going to get 2 silver. Again, they don't work in silver, so we look at the top of their board. Anytime they'd get a provision or silver, they're going to instead move their little yellow marker. And then they're going to get an influence in yellow. Okay, and that's it. I think now that we have this 1 die, and you can see here, we have a camel on that. So we can place that die right here to activate this spot. I really like the sound of that. So we're going to stick that right there. We have to pay 2 provisions. And now we're going to get to take one of the yellow cards and a silver. Now I'm fairly tempted to take one of these 2. Because if I did, I would get the yellow worker that's on top of it. As tempting as that is, I think I'm going to go in a slightly different direction, and I'm going to take this card right here. Now, land cards always go to the left of your board, and there are 2 types. There are these city types, and then these are vistas. And vistas give you one of these gray powers. This is sort of an ongoing special ability that triggers when you do certain things. So in this case, anytime I get a city card in the future, I'll get a silver along with it. And then there's also a sort of immediate action that I get to take. That's what that little lightning bolt symbol means. And in this case, I get to re-roll a die. Now, the cool thing about re-rolling a die is you can re-roll a die that you haven't used yet, or you can re-roll one that you have used. And it frees up that space for you to use it again. So which one of these do I want to do again? That's really the question. I think I want to do this one. Okay, I rolled a 2. And now, because I took this action, I can do one of these bottom ones as well. I can either influence a card. I don't have any influence in any of the guilds, so I can't move one. And then I could plus or minus one of these dice. I think I'm just going to influence a card. I'm going to go ahead and influence this card right there. Okay, there we go. That was my action. Okay, the top number is a 1, so we move the marker 1 space. And then here they want to spend 2 yellow influence in order to take a yellow card. And they happen to have 2 yellow influence, so they can do that. Now, what card do they want to take? 1 plus 0 is 1. They want to take this first card, and we have an influence on there. Anytime the AI wants to do something with a card where we have influence, and that could be either take the card, or to take a meeple off of the card, or to put a meeple onto a card where we have influence, we have a couple of options. We can either let them do it, in which case we can take either a silver or a provision, or we can pay a silver or a provision to force them to move on to the next card. And honestly, I put that influence there because I want to have that card, and so I'm going to pay a silver to force them to move to the next card, and they're going to take this one. Now, when the AI takes a card, they don't care about any of the symbols on the card at all. They completely ignore everything on the card. They are just keeping these in order to score points at the end of the game. So we can just put them in a stack. We'll deal with those later. All right, that's it. So I immediately want to take this action right here. That's going to get me 2 provisions and an influence into the blue guild. Done. Ooh, okay, so 2. And as you can see, the marker moved over that comet symbol, which means they're going to move 1 up the comet track. And now they would like to take 2 black guild influence in order to take a space card, but they don't have that. So they're going to move on to the second action, which is to actually place an influence in the black guild and gain a townsfolk card. 2 + 1 is 3, so they want to take the third townsfolk card, of course counting from the center, 1, 2, 3. And once again, they ignore everything on the card. Okay, on my turn, I want to get another blue card. But again, I need that sailboat, so I'm going to have to use my influence. I'm then going to place this die here, spend 2 provisions. And I'm going to take this card right here. It's going to give me a blue worker. Line it up, get another provision. As well as I get to take a blue tile for free. That's what that symbol means. So I can take any one of these 3 tiles. I'm going to take this one. And now you can place this either like that, or you can flip it like that. But you cannot rotate or turn it. And you can place it anywhere. I think I'm going to place it right here, and then I'll get a silver because I'm covering that symbol up. So these pre-printed symbols are not things that you get when you use the dice. They're what you get when you cover them up with these tiles. I get another silver. There we go. Now these slide over. Done. Wow, another 2. Okay, now for that card, they want to play a green worker. They don't have one. So they're going to go to the second action, which is sort of their faction action. So we're going to look at the top of their board, and it shows right there, because this is the space AI, they're going to take a space card for their faction action. Which one do they want? 2 + 2 is 4, 4th card. Back to our turn. And now that I've put this tile here, this 3 has a bird attached to it. So now I could use that 3 in these 2 spots, but I could also use it here in order to take a journaling action, which you haven't seen yet, or to grab any meeple I want and place an influence. And in this case, I could place an influence on the guild of my choice. I think I do actually want to take a journaling action. So I am going to place the die right here on that bird. And when you do a journaling action, you're allowed to move 1 space to the right. And you can see here we have this sort of track that we're moving along. We're trying to get to the end here because that's going to trigger the end of the game. And every time you move to a new box, you are passing over an ink splot, which has a prerequisite that you have to meet in order to move over it. Now here in this first spot, those are blank, so we can either move to the top there, in which case we'll get 2 silver, or we can move to the bottom and get an influence on the blue and the yellow guild, and that's what I want to do. Now, anytime you take a journaling action, you have the option to spend one of your influence in the Black Guild in order to move an additional space. Unfortunately, we don't have any influence with the Black Guild, so we can't do that. And because we were the first to enter this space, we get to take the green worker. That's one reason I wanted to rush in to take that action. And now the AI is going to do something special because they now have 3 of the same color of card in their display. Right? They have blue cards and red cards, and right now they have 3 blue cards out. So rather than draw a new card, instead they're going to rest. And you can see their rest action is printed right here on the bottom. The first thing you do is you look to see if there is a comet symbol at the bottom of the last card that they played. You can see there's comet symbols here, here, and here, but on the last card there isn't, so they don't move up this track. If there was one, they would move up 1 space. Now they're going to take a space card. And once again, they're going to take the space card in the 4th position. And then they're going to journal. Now, when they journal, they want to move 2 spaces. And the way you determine this is you see, if they're behind where we are on the journal, then they can spend 1 black influence in order to move 2 spaces. If they were equal to where we were, they'd have to spend 2 influence. And if they were ahead of us, they'd have to spend 3 influence in order to take that second step. In this case, they're behind, and they do have 1 influence, so they're going to spend it and move 2. Now, every time they move, they have an option of either going the high route or the low route. And because the color of 3 cards is blue, they're going to take the high route. If the 3 cards had been red, they would take the low route. You can think of it as the sky is up in the air and blue, so they go up. So in this case, they're going to come up here. They would get 2 silver, but instead they just move 2. And then they're going to go up again. They get to ignore those prerequisites. They can just move however they want. Now in this spot, they're going to get to take one of these inspiration cards. In this case, you look at where their yellow token is, and you look all the way to the right. That shows you which one of these inspiration cards they want to take. In this case, they're going to take the 3rd from the bottom, as it shows right there. And then they would also get their 4th die, but of course they don't have dice, so instead, as it shows up there, they're going to take one of these tiles. The yellow marker is in the black space, so they're going to take a black tile. And because they have a 4, they want to take the 4th tile. There's only 3, so they're just going to take the last tile. And they place it on this track here, and this is sort of a winding track, and so they don't follow the same rules we do. Normally, if we place this on our board, it would have to be up and down. Here, they just place it right here, and they covered up that blue card symbol, so they're going to take one of the blue cards. Once again, 2 plus 2 is 4. They take the 4th card. There we go. So that was a lot, but now that they're totally done, we can refill everything. And now, of course, you just shuffle up their deck. And now it's our turn. Now, we don't have any dice left, but we do have these 2 workers. So we could rest ourselves. And because we have used all of our dice, we would get to take this action, which would let us journal again and get a silver. But I think what I want to do is I want to use my green worker. And I want to go there. Those action spots up there can only be taken with green workers, and I'm the only one with a green worker, so I might as well take advantage of that. That lets me influence all 3 guilds. Another reason we want to influence the guilds is because at the end of the game, we'll get 3 points for each guild that we have the most influence in. There we go. That was my simple turn. They want to spend 2 blue influence, but they don't have it, so instead they'll add a blue influence and take a tile. Yeah, they're still in the black area, and that's a 1, so they're going to take this tile. And they covered up a gain an influence in the Black Guild. Now they're done. Okay, I think for this action, I'm actually going to use my blue worker here to get another one of these tiles. I feel like I want to take this one, and I want to place it right here. Now that's going to give me a provision and a reroll. I think I want to reroll this die right here. Ooh, a 6. That's interesting. Okay, they don't have that, so they're going to take the bottom one. Influence, and then looks like the third townsfolk. This die did not roll exactly like I was hoping, but let's take advantage of it. We have a telescope, so we can place that here. That's going to let us either take a space card or one of the black tiles. I want to take a space card. Now, the only one that I can afford is that first one, because that one costs 3 silver. Then it's 4, 4, and 5. And the AI has an influence on it, which means that I either have to spend an extra silver or a provision. So I'll spend a provision and the 3 silver. Now, a space card has to go on top of a previous placed either sea card or land card. I'll just put it right here for now. Have an immediate action, which lets me influence another card. Let's influence this one. And at the end of the game, I'm going to get a point for every one of my space cards that has this star icon on it. And we started with 1, so that's 2 points there. The space card that we start with is going to give us a point for every pair of townsfolk cards and tiles that we have. So that's giving us a point at the moment. Okay, that was it for me. Passed over that comet spot again. Doesn't have a green worker, so instead it's just going to take the 4th space card. That's really unfortunate because they get 3 points for every one of those cards. And now I have no free dice, I have no free workers, so we are definitely going to rest. So the rest action is right here. It shows that if you have spent all or all but one of your dice, then you can get this little special thing when you rest, which is a silver and a journaling action. So right now, I either have to go the up route, in which case I need to have at least one of these open sea spaces, and I got 2. Or I could go the low route, but I would have to have 2 harbors, and I only have 1, so I have to go this way. Now the reward here is the same no matter where you go. You get an inspiration card, and you get to take your extra die. And so we can roll all of these for the next round. Let's see here, got a 1, a 6, 3, and a 4. Okay, lots of options. And then we can pick which inspiration card we want. I'm going to take this one here. Now, if we didn't want to take an inspiration card, we could instead get the benefits of one of these worker placement spots down there, depending on which card we removed. But I do want to take this card. And what this is saying is we're going to tuck this underneath one of our space cards here. I'm going to tuck it under this one. And what that's saying is that if at the end of the game we have 3 of these blue tiles, and we already have 2, so if we can just get 1 more, then we'll get double points for this space card. So rather than getting 1 point for every star space card, we'll get 2. And now I'd like to spend my black influence to move again. And from here, I would either have to have 2 townsfolk, which I don't have, I only have 1, or 2 space cards with the star symbol, and I have that. So I'm going to move here, and that's going to let me take a townsfolk for free. Ooh, this is a hard choice. I think I like that merchant. Not only is it a good ability, but it gives me a green worker. And he wants to be on one of these Vista spaces, so we'll just tuck it underneath. And so now, anytime I get a city card, I'll get 2 silver instead of just 1. You can only do that at most once, right? I can't keep spending black influence to keep moving up. It's just, you can only spend 1 influence on a turn. And once again, because we were the first to move into this area, we get this green worker. So now we got 2 green workers to play with. That's fun. And we can see the choices that we have for moving forward. we're now going to need at least a planet or 2 harbors in order to move forward. My plan is to move down here, getting 2 harbors, and then over here because we have 2 of these open sea areas. Although we might want to try to come down here, get another vista. So we move here, and then we already have the 2 blue tiles. That would be another way for us to go forward. So we got some options there in terms of the path that we want to take, but I do think I want to try to navigate this middle path. I should also note that at the end of the game, we're going to get points based on these land and sea cards that we have. So the more of one type that you have of each of the 4 different basic land and sea types, you'll get more points, but you also get points for having sets. So at the moment, we actually have 1 set of 4, because we have a city, a vista, a harbor, and an open sea. I'd like to at least get 2 or maybe even 3 sets if we can, so that's another thing that we're kind of thinking of as we go along. Oh no, that's me. They don't have 2 yellow. So instead they're going to put 2 yellow and then influence a card. Ooh, it's going to be a green card. 2 + 1, 3. And now you can see they have 3 red cards, so we know that the next turn they're going to be passing, resting. We now have 2 green workers. We have all of our dice. We have a ton of options. We want a harbor card, but unfortunately there aren't any harbor cards out. We could take this action here to draw 3 and pick 1. Also, anytime you take an action, so if we were to take this action here where we get to draw a card, if you have a bird associated with that die, or you pay a provision, you can also just, instead of taking one of these, draw 3 and pick 1, and then put the other 2 at the bottom of the deck. And that's also true here of these land cards as well. Now, we also said we wanted to get a second vista, and we do have a camel here. Actually, this vista is nice, because anytime we get a star card, we'll get a provision, and we want to get star cards, so maybe that's a good combo. I feel like I'm liking that at the moment. So let's grab that 1. We'll go here. Spend 2 provisions. Get a silver. We also have these things down here where we could move one of our influence. Or influence a card, or do plus or minus on a die. I want to move an influence. And then we get a card. I'm going to take this card. So we immediately get a coin. Now we'll get a provision every time we get a star card. Okay, resting. There is a comet there. Now the reason he's moving up that comet track is that there are these comet cards. There's one right there. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most comets, their comet cards are worth more. So this is just us competing. Now, I'm not really interested in comets, so I'm not really caring that he's moving up that track. He's going to get the 3rd card. And then he's going to journal. Again, he's behind us, so he's only going to spend 1 to move 2. And because it's red, he's going to take the southern path. So he's going to get a green card. 3rd one. And he's going to move again. And in this space, you get to take one of these purple tiles. And that's what you look down here for. It shows you exactly which tile he wants to take. That is a shame. That was one that I was looking at. Also going to take the 3rd land card. Okay. He's getting a bunch of cards, and that's going to be a lot of points at the end of the game. I tend to have trouble keeping up with them. For my turn, I'm just going to use this green worker here. You can use green or blue, because I need some provisions. It gives me 2 provisions and a blue influence, which will also be useful. Okay, they couldn't do the top. I'm going to use this 4 here. Costs 2 provisions. And then I'm going to spend a 3rd provision so that I can draw 3 from that deck and pick 1. Because I really need a harbor. There's only 1 harbor. Okay, well, we're taking the 1 harbor because we need it. These other two go at the bottom. And now, luckily, we do get a provision. And interestingly enough, this comes with a library symbol. You can see we start with one library symbol. That's my second. And right here, that's a spot that needs 2 libraries. So that could be an interesting option. Okay, they don't have a green worker, so instead they're taking another space card. Ugh, we're getting killed by these space cards. Those are worth so many points to him. Or to her, I suppose. We're now prepared to journal if we wanted. And we did get this nice little journaling spot, and we do have a bird, so maybe that makes sense. So we get a silver, and we can journal. So now we have the 2 harbors. Boom. We get to take one of these pink tiles of our choice. Now, these have different icons on them that will help us at the end of the game. They also come with points that we'll get during the end of the game. So, like, if we needed an extra icon for, mostly for journaling, we could get those here. So, like, we could get another harbor so that we have 3 harbors, because maybe we want to go through that 4 harbor spot. I think I'm going to take this one right here. This is going to give me a 3rd vista. Now, we can place it anywhere. I think strangely enough, I'm going to put it right here. It's going to let me move one of my influence. So now for the purposes of moving up this track, I now have 3 vistas, because I think I might want to go that direction right there. Now I'm going to pay one of the black influences to move again. And I could go either route. But I want to go this lower route here, the 2 vistas. Get the green worker. And get to put 2 influences on cards. The AI is very gung-ho about those space cards. Let's at least protect the stars, because I want the stars. We'll just cover all the space cards. Not moving. Can't do either of those, so it's just going to put out 3 influence. Okay, wow, they have tons of influence out there. I actually have a good amount of money here, and I'm kind of excited to just climb up this track. Yeah, okay. I think I will. That's going to let me journal and get a provision. I have the 2 blue tiles, so I can move in there. Going to get my other dice immediately. And one of these inspiration cards. Ooh, do I even want this? Instead of getting an inspiration card, I am going to discard this inspiration card for this ability, which is a silver. And I can re-roll this die. Ooh, got a 1. Then I'm going to spend a black influence to journal again. And once again, I have a choice here. But I'm pretty sure I want to go this way. Well, Oh, actually, I don't have a choice, do I? No, I don't have a choice because I don't have 3 of those. I only have 2. So I'm going to go this route down here. Get the green worker, provision, and money. Okay, wants to take this first yellow card. But I have an influence there. Do I care if they take that? I do kind of want that one. You know what? I don't want him to have that card. I'm going to pay a money to have him move on, take this one. Yeah, because I actually do want that card. Oops, and I forgot to refill. We're going to come here with a green worker. You can't have 2 workers of the same color, but you can have different colors. It's going to let me re-roll this die. And then I can do some pluses and minuses. I'm going to make this a 3. Let's make this a 5, just in case. Okay. 0, it wants to put the yellow. Can't go here, so it's going to go there. 2 moves. And a yellow influence. Okay. And I want to take this action. Yeah. 2 of these. Get a silver. Gonna move one of those up there. Going to take this card. Okay, they're going to rest. 3 blue cards. There is a comet. Wants to take that first space card. And is going to journal. They're behind, so they only have to spend 1 influence to move 2. Blue, sky means up. They're coming here. They're going to take a green tile. First one. Okay, that causes nothing to happen. So they're going to get an inspiration card. It's this one. That's a shame. And then they're going to take a tile. They're in the yellow section. We want to take the first one. And that lets them take another space card. They want to take that one, but that's one of my star cards, and that's not one I want them to have. So I'm going to spend a money so that they go on to the next one. I also have an influence there, but I'm going to let them take that one. So when I let them take it, they have to pay me either a money or a provision. And I want a provision. Okay, and I think that's it. First off, I need to do this. Yellow worker here, get to take a tile. It's going to cost either 3 coins or 2 yellow influence, which I don't have. I wonder if I would rather... Oh, boy. Well, I'll spend the 3 coins, I guess. Oh, you know what? I should have gotten 2 coins when I placed this card. I totally forgot about that. So we're going to retcon that, and I'm going to take my 2 coins. Spend the 3. Get this tile. Has to go here. Just going to let me put an influence on a card. Oh, what card do I not want him to get? I don't know if I really care. I'll put it here. Gonna get a yellow card. I placed it on the wrong card. Yep, we're gonna spend this. We have the telescope and the camel, so we can place it right there. Influence, and we get to play a space card. Gonna spend 3. And we'll put it here. Add a little balance. Oh, and when we get a space card, we get a provision. I'm forgetting about my special abilities. Has a yellow worker. Going right here. Getting a green card. And they put influence. It's going to be on the first green card, and then they just move to the next one. Okay, so with this 5 die, you can see here I have a plus, which means that before I spend it, I could make it into a 6 if I wanted. And I also have this minus, which means I can make it into a 4. And that's what I want to do. I want to make this into a 4. So it has the sailboat, so I can place it right here. We're going to spend 2 provisions, and we're going to get one of these cards. This one is extremely tempting, but I think we're going here. Gonna get a provision. And we get to journal. We now have the 3 open sea spaces, so we can come here. Pretty sure I want to take this. It's a hard choice though, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to take this. I'm going to place it here to get a coin. I now have 3 of those, 3 there, 3 of those, and 2. So if I can get another city, that will be another set. And actually, in fact, you know what? Instead of taking this one, I'm actually going to take a city. There we go. So now I need another harbor to get 3 sets. There we go. I think that'll be better. And then I'm going to spend 1 to go again. We're going to come in here. We have to spend a yellow and a black. I'll take this here. There we go. Okay, I'm done. Okay, gonna spend these 2. Wants to take the first card, and I'm there. Yeah, I'll let him take that card, and I'll get a buck. Oh, and by the way, when I got this symbol, I keep forgetting this. When I get this symbol, I actually get 2 more coins. Because this triggers even when you're taking one of those. That was the other reason I wanted to take that. I'm going to do this. We're going to go there. We're going to re-roll this die. 2. Okay, then we get 2 movement. I'm going to move this 3 into a 5. No, I'm going to make this into a 4. And then make this 2 into a 1. There we go. I like that better. Okay, unfortunately getting another space card. I can now come here. 2 of those. Coin. Okay, I'm going to plus or minus this. Using that. And then I'm going to take this card here. It's a city card, so I'm going to get 2 more money. Okay, and now they're resting. There's no comment. I'm going to take the 3rd card. And because they have no influence in the Black Guild, they're only going to get to move once. They're going down. That moves them 2 on the track. That's all they can do. I'm going to switch this die into a 6. And now use it to place right here. Yellow influence. And I get to take a space card. I want that first one. That's going to cost 3. I get a provision. And anytime I take a space card, I get a provision. This card's going to give me a point, plus a point for every one of these observation icons. And right now I've got 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Now they're going to influence the first yellow card. Okay, and now I think I've kind of changed my plans a little bit. My goal was to try to get a 4th vista so I could come down in here. But now I think I want to try to end the game before the solo opponent gets another chance to rest. Because every time they rest, they get a ton of cards and they just score a bunch of points. So I think it's probably in my best interest to just end the game as fast as possible. And I can do that right here. Instead of going this route, I can take this middle route. It's not as good because you can't get one of these purple tokens or one of these inspiration cards. But I need to just spend a black influence and then I'll get 2 influence. And I don't have a black influence right now, but I do have a green worker. So let's just go there. That's going to let me put out 1 influence. And again, like I said, at the end of the game, you get points if you have the most influence in each of these guilds. And so we'll maybe shoot for that. That could work. Okay, taking a tile in the yellow. Gonna take the first tile if they could. That gives them a space card. They're gonna take the first one. And we can do a journaling action. So boom, we'll come in here. We'll get to put out 2. Go like that. So now we're ahead in all 3 guilds, at least at the moment. And that's going to trigger the end of the game. So when you do that, each player gets to take an extra turn. So the solo opponent's going to get a turn, and then I'm actually going to get to take the last turn. And then I forgot to reroll all my dice. Obviously, when you rest. Okay. Now I have to decide if I want to just purchase a space card. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a bad idea. And in fact, I could activate this right here, and then I could get a space card that way and put out a black. Ooh, that's good. I think that's probably what we're going to do. The only other thing we could think about doing is getting another harbor so that we could get another set, and that would be worth 5 points. But I think the space card is going to be worth more. So let's go ahead and do that. We rolled exactly what we need. We'll come here. Get a black influence. And a space card. We have 5 money. We'll take that one. And there we go. That's the end of the game. Okay, we're going to start off by scoring our tableau. The first thing we do is score all 4 of the basic land and sea types based on this chart up here. So for city icons, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be 5 points. We have 3 vistas, 1, 2, 3. That's 3 points. We have 2 harbors for 2 points. And then we have 3 open seas. That's 3 points. And then we have 2 sets of all 4. Because we only have 2 harbors, we only have 2 sets. That's going to be 10 points. And that's a total of 23 points. The second thing we're going to score are our star cards. So here we're getting a point for every vista. We have 3 of them. Here we're getting a point plus a point for every one of our astronomy symbols there, the observatory symbols. 1, 2, 3. So that's 4 points total. A point for every city, and we have 4 cities. Here we're getting a point for every townsfolk and tile combo, and we only have 2 townsfolk, so that's 2 points. And then I completely forgot about this, but we're getting a point for every star card. We have 5 of them, so that's 5 points. And it would have been doubled if we had gotten 1 more of those blue tokens, but I just completely forgot about that. Also, I don't think there was probably an easy way for me to do that. But we could have had an extra 5 points if we managed to pull that off. All total, that's 18 points. We then get points for our tiles, and you can see here some of the tiles have points on them. We only have 2 of those, so that's just 2 points. And then lastly, we get points for guild majorities. And look at that, we're in the majority on all 3 guilds, so we're getting 9 points for that. That puts our total at 52 points. Now that's quite a bit lower than I usually score, but I'm hoping that maybe we went so fast that the scores went a little lower. Let's find out how the solo opponent did. Now their scoring is very easy. They're going to score for guild majorities, but that's 0. They score for their tiles as well, but that's also just 2. And then they're going to score the cards that they collected based on that chart there. So first of all, they're going to get a point for every townsfolk card. They had 6 of those, so that's 6 points. Then they get 2 points for every land and sea card. They also had 6 of those, so that's 12 points. They get 3 points for every space card. And they had 10 of those, so 30 points. And then they get 4 points for every inspiration card. They had 2, so that's 8. That puts their total at 58 points. So they beat us by 6 points. Would have been really close if we had managed to get another blue tile out. And even if we just got 1 more of those harbors, that would have also been 5 more points. The combination would have been 10, but they would have scored points in the time that it took us to do those. So it was a close game, but we didn't quite come out on top. But there you go. That is a complete solo game of Wayfarers of the South Tigris. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.